Who want one last trip to the long trail?
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We have another news article for Tekken 8, and this one is way more fascinating than the last one. 3D audio, graphics, been there, done that, we already know. This one is more so focused on story, and this one is pretty juicy. I have the original here. This is from Famitsu. It's in Japanese. I can't read Japanese. Can you read Japanese? I don't think so. So I went to this other news article that basically took everything that Famitsu said in Japanese and they translated it to English. This one is from Noisy Pixel, so I'll be reading from this one. It says, Tekken 8 will have a bigger story mode than Tekken 7. Bigger story mode. This is something that I try to stress in my videos. The story of Tekken 7, it wasn't as good as it could have been. This is something we know. Like, the narrator is like not really that good. There were some decisions with like dialogue and all of these nitpicks. But one thing that I try to stress with Tekken 7 is that it did its job technically. The narrator exposed the Devil Gene to the world. That, in my opinion, is probably one of the most important things to happen in Tekken in a very long time. That reshapes the way that every character now looks at Kazuya Mishima, and it puts him under the spotlight, and now everyone's looking to see what he does. The same thing for Heihachi. Tekken 7 acted as a good conclusion to his story. So even though Tekken 7 had some shortcomings, it still managed to do the job, which was tell the narrative that they wanted, if you really pay attention, but then also to set Tekken 8 up to run with the momentum. It says Famitsu interviewed Tekken 8 staff, namely develop producer and game director Ikeda, and marketing producer Yasuda. So these are two people who really don't get that much credit. I try to mention their names as much as possible. Michael Murray and Harada, they come up with, let's say, maybe the ideas, and then these two guys make it happen. You'll often hear them say, hey, we told them this idea for story, and then when they brought it back to us, it was really cool. That's who they're talking about, Ikeda and Yasuda. These are the guys, basically they don't get enough credit. The conversation went into the title story mode, which is stated to be bigger than Tekken 7's attempt at it, with a considerable budget poured into it. Yes, Tekken 8 will probably have the biggest budget out of every Tekken game ever made, but there is a limit to that. And when they're dedicating this much resources to story, how much do you have for game modes and all these other things? This is just something that I ask because it's a question that the developers will definitely have to ask themselves, right? This is how you make a game. You allocate resources to different departments and people, right? So the interviewer says, could you tell us more about the story mode volume? Yasuda says, of course, it will be more than Tekken 7. As a matter of fact, when I was informed of how much of the budget we had to use for story, I went, oh my, this is quite the price. So you can see here, like, when they heard that price, they were just like excited. I'm excited and I don't even know the price. Say what you want about Tekken 7, the gameplay, the DLC characters, or whatever the case may be, but everything that that game has accomplished and was able to accomplish, Tekken 8 is gaining all of the benefits for it. If they made Tekken 7, which was a smash hit on no budget, and they're making Tekken 8 on a huge budget, I just wonder how this game will perform and then what Tekken 9 will look like afterwards. But we'll get there, Ikeda says, when I first saw just how much we made, even I was surprised. Since there are at least 32 characters, I had to, at least? Maybe that's a translation. Because we know there's 4 DLC characters, so they probably have those characters already done, and then those characters will probably come out within a couple of months. Basically the same thing Street Fighter did, right? 19 characters, and they're already releasing them. If they really wanted to, they could have put those 4 characters, 5 characters on a roster. But let's move on. I had a hard time connecting them in my head, but fighting games are all about the charm of the characters, so we made sure to bring out the most of each of them. This is something that I try to stress, right? I always ask people, do you like story? Do you think story matters? Some people say yes, some people say no. To the people who say no, I say, your character wouldn't have a personality, wouldn't have a rival, wouldn't have charm, wouldn't have anything. All of that stuff is tied to story. And I think fighting games really don't get credit for it, bro. Like, fighting games, have to tackle all of these different characters' story and tell it in a cool way that's engaging, and for players to say it doesn't matter, I feel like that's like crazy, bro. The story definitely matters and they put a lot into it. Tekken 8 is the latest installment of the legendary fighting game franchise developed by Bandai Namco. This game continues the saga of the Mishima family history and the ongoing of the battle for supremacy within the Iron Fist tournament. Players enter the arena once again and choose the fighter they believe will be the best this tournament. The gameplay in Tekken 8 has been refined, offering a blend of accessibility for newcomers and depth for seasoned veterans. The developers are focused on bringing new features and improved graphics to enhance the experience for all who play, whether they're fighting through single player campaign or challenging friends through multiplayer matches.